Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday night edition of Spaced Out Radio Tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are going to have a wonderful night talking about alien AI, crash retrievals, and so much more. Author Ryan S. Wood is here to break it all down for us. We have Dirty Filth in the house to draw another crazy cartoon. But the best part about tonight, we already have each and every one of you. We're going to start off with Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Eternity Eternal with a silver. Race Fan with another bronze medal tonight. Race Fan, what's happened to your game? What has happened? Oh, man. Hi there, gorgeous Kira. How are you tonight? And thank you very much for kicking off the Super Chat. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. We love you, Kira. And a big hug for you. And, of course, Mark, too. And T-Bone, my man, how are you? Good to see you. David Norenberg, Robert Lamoth, thank you for coming on in. Kira, again, look at you, Kira. Thank you very much again for the lovely Super Chat. Aren't you just a special saucy type of lady? Love you. Love you. All right, moving on down, we have up next, scrolling on down, Missouri Man, how are you? Sarah Yon, thanks for coming on in. Frankie B. and Mel WD40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because Dirty Phil says he will not draw a cartoon without being lubed up by Mel tonight. So, Mel, thank you for the great work that you do to make this show happen. Scrolling on down, we say hello next in our chat room to, well, there's a big conversation going on. Paramarv, how are you? And Mama Catherine, I love you, my dear. I hope you have yourself a wonderful, wonderful night as we continue on with our roll call here. Up next, T-Bone, my man. How are you? And let's go. Oh, you guys are having one hell of a conversation. Kathy Evans, good to see you. Gory Tiger, thanks for joining us as we continue on with our roll call. Flat 6 is here. Flat 6 will be signing autographs after the show as well. Light up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Carol Amario, thank you for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. Ethanol, good to see you, as well as who is up next. Well, let's take a look as we scroll on down. And scroll on down some more. Exquisite Cringe. How are you tonight? Thank you for joining us. Bill Sardellis, good to see you, my friend. And Amanda. And her Crazy Life channel. How are you? Good to see you. Scrolling on down, let us say hello next to Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Good to have you here, the Doug Shelby. Let's see here. Send all of you, and all of you, and all of you. Boy, you guys are chatty tonight in the chat room. This is awesome. Operation Shutdown, number 20 in your program. Starting at right wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. J Truthseeker, Undead Jed, Mr. Cowley. How are you all? Thank you for joining us. Kevin Kennedy, good to have you here. And Area 51, thank you for taking the time. Kitty, thank you for that lovely super chat. We always appreciate your love and support on the mighty SOR. And we got a little bit of time here. Pam Harris, good to see you. Jerence Carter, thanks for coming on in. Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got aliens. Yes, you do, Joe. Don't even deny it. You got them aliens. Millennium, my man. Skip to Malou, good to have you both here. And Zen1, thank you for joining us. Say hi to Zen2 for us, if you don't mind. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Author, researcher, Ryan S. Wood is going to be talking about UFO Crash Retrievals, because we're UFO people, not UAP people. And we're going to continue on with roll call on our YouTube side. We say hello to Al Gray on Twitch. 14 miles on the stationary bike in under 3 minutes. His legs were moving. Ozzy, good to see you. Lee, welcome. Paul Demon, thanks for coming on in. Area 51, are you serious? Holy cow. That is utterly amazing, Area 51. You didn't have to do that, but thank you. Throw your horns up, everybody. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show tonight. We're going to start off with Crash Retrievals, as Ryan S. Wood, author, researcher, is going to be here, break it all down. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off with another crazy, spooky story. We're going to follow that up with Robin Haynes and the Cryptid Q&A right after that. I am pumped up for this show. I really am. Ryan S. Wood was born in Maryland. He grew up in Southern California where he first became exposed to UFOs when his father, Dr. Robert M. Wood, was engaged in deciphering the physics of UFOs while managing a research project on anti-gravitics for McDonnell Douglas. I apologize about that. Sorry. This involved the process of trying to change the speed of light in a Michaelson Morely interferometer. I'm going to learn some words tonight. Interferometer. I'm going to ask Ryan what the hell that means. All right, now I'm going to have to look that up. This involved the process of trying to change the speed of light. And where are we here? In 1978, he graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo with degrees in mathematics and computer science, and has had a long career in marketing, sales, engineering, corporate management across semiconductor, computer systems, medical imaging, energy conservation. Dirty Filth, how did you get this guy on our show? He is way too smart for us. Way too smart for us. Ryan Wood, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Really appreciate you taking the time for us. Good to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Dave. I'm happy to share my insights and thoughts with your audience, and looking forward to the conversation.
You learned about UFOs from your dad, who is a highly decorated scientist. How did that all happen? Take us to that conversation.
Yeah, well, it was. I think I was like 67 or 68, and I'm 17, or no, not more like 12 or 13. And my dad brings Stanton Friedman, the famous ufologist, home for dinner, because Stanton was working for my father on this gravity project. Um, and the way the gravity project sort of was created or came about was he was giving a briefing to his management, McDonnell Douglas and other management people, and they asked him, "Well, what are you doing? What have you been doing for fun?" And he said, "Well, uh, I read 50 UFO books, and there's only one question left." And they said, "What's that, Bob?" And they said, "Well, are we going to figure out how gravity works before or after Lockheed does?" And so it was that whole competitive aerospace environment in Southern California in the 60s, and that basically said, "No, well, how much money do you want to do that?" And he said, "Well, I want $500,000, which is like, $4.5 million today," and turned him loose on doing a variety of science experiments, from trying to change the speed of light with the Michaelson Morely interferometer, which is where you take a laser beam and you split it into two parts and then recombine it. And that's an interferometer. And then they did regression hypnosis and abduction research, also with some early people. Brian Scott was a name that I remember. And then also, physics experiments where we know that flying saucers exhibit large magnetic fields, and they have counter rotation involved, where the part of the craft is spinning one way and part spinning the other way. And let's do some physics experiments like that. And then let's hire some top theoretical physicists to try to do a theoretical approach to the nature of gravity. Start with Einstein's stuff and Maxwell's stuff, and try to do math and physics and that approach. So that's sort of my initial exposure. And then, like most teenagers, you sort of ignore your parents and go about your life until much later, when my father and I really reconnected around this topic in earnest in the early 90s.
So you fell in love with this pretty quick. I mean, and what kid wouldn't? If your dad is sitting there talking about UFOs and you're thinking, man, this is one of the greatest things of my life. I could just imagine, and I mean this with all compliment, how much you were geeking out back then over this topic.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure I was that geeky. It was kind of interesting a little bit, but by the time I got to high school, I ended up doing my senior project around trying to change the speed of light in physics. So I was very interested in that experiment and fun things like that, but I wasn't reading books on UFOs. It was music, girls, and cars. That was the focus.
Pretty good choices.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
the fact that you may not have been reading it, you were obviously letting this sink into your brain as these conversations are happening around, the lounge table with the gentleman probably either sipping a coffee or a glass of brandy or something, whatever they were drinking back then.
Yeah. It was interesting. I definitely. I went out to. I remember going out to the desert one time, out in Joshua Tree, in Southern California desert, and one of my dad's employees had either he rented it or built it, or had a little cinder block, like, one room house. And I remember sleeping on the couch, where they had a strip chart recorder and a fancy magnetometer out like 50 yards out in the desert with a custom built sensor system to try to pick up magnetic anomalies associated with UFOs. So that was kind of different and fun, and firsthand experience. So that was another thing that I remember.
As you started to take this story a little bit more seriously, what was it that clicked for you that said, these are real? I really need to start paying attention more here.
Yeah, that's a very fascinating question. I guess intrinsically and intuitively, I always knew they were real. But I never had any experiences that I would consider anything more than a light in the sky. And I approached to the topic as an analyst and as an investigator. And I went to several MUFON conferences in the late 80s, and then started to get more into document authentication with my father. And that's where we focused on the Majestic 12 documents and the MJ12 documents, the leaks that happened with Jamie Chandray in 1984, and then Don Berliner with the Special Operations Manual in 94, and then the variety of other leaks through Tim Cooper and his various sources. So that was really the documents sort of phase and interest. And it wasn't until my frustrations with the MUFON conference in the late 90s that I decided I could do a better job doing conferences. And I actually started the UFO Crash Retrieval Conference in 2003 and ran for 7 years to 2009. 20 years before David Grush ever said that, oh yeah, we have crashes. It was in Las Vegas. It was fun. It was all, I had control of, who the speakers were and what they focused on. And that was extremely important for me, trying to get to the hard nitty gritty of the science, the crashed evidence, the hardware, the proof, the hieroglyphic hatches and stuff.
Did you always look at the scientific side of UFOs, or did you think there was more to it?
Early on, I think it was all scientific. I would say in the last, since maybe the crash retrieval conferences, I got more exposed to the whole abduction side of it and the interface side of it, and in the non-material science technology investigation crashes side, but not really as a passion of it. It was more osmosis. Practically, you go to the conferences and you listen to the talks, and you get exposed to other perspectives and other non-hardware investigation stuff. And so and I'm more fascinated with it now, because invariably people say, well, why are they here? What do they want? What's their agenda? And that isn't answered in hardware. It's answered through regression hypnosis or other means.
Do you believe in the experiences people are having then, to kind of take a little bit of a tangent here?
Oh yeah. There no doubt can be highly emotional and goosebumped, and they're not lying. It's not 100%, but it's way up there. And when you start looking at all the evidence, that John Mack work, or David Jacobs, or Bud Hopkins, or so many of the other Whitley Strieber, these famous either direct experiences or analyzers. I mean, John Mack's work, the Harvard professor who did all these various regression hypnosis and did a tremendous book on this topic. Um, you know, it, it was exceptional. And there are many exceptional authors. I think of Timothy Good, for example. One did a lot of great investigation reports around not only crashes, or Nick Redfern, but experiencers and so forth. They were spending, more time than I was, I think. So, sort of.
The passion that you have for this subject, what brings that out in you? Is it following what is happening today? Is it talking to people one-on-one and finding new angles to different stories? What really drives you?
That's a very deep question. I guess it's the tremendous hubris of the bad guys to think that 1,000 cloistered scientists deep underground or in cloistered ways can figure out the nature of this technology for the benefit of humanity. It may not be for the benefit of humanity. It may be for the military-industrial complex or some other off-world adjunct spin out of humanity. And I'd say that's the. I guess I want to do good and use the technology of gravity control or the insights for fusion energy to uplift the plight of the human species and the standard of living. And it gets pretty philosophical at times when you think about what's the criteria with which the aliens will actually allow humanity to join the cosmic kindergarten, as they say, or actually as Stanton Friedman coined it long ago. And my impression of that is that you got to get rid of your nukes. You got to clean up the environment. You got to stop warring. And you might as well feed everybody and educate everybody too. And my prediction is that it's not going to happen until 2050, 2060, sort of. That's hopefully I'll live long enough to see that evolution, because it's not going very well right now. So I mean, what motivates me to keep going? And well, you want to try to make money and have fun, and to some extent, many of the people that came and presented at the crash retrieval conferences in the early 2000s are very much the friends that I have in ufology, from Nick Redfern or Linda Moulton Howe or Richard Dolan or there was Michael Schratt, Antonio Huneeus. I mean, it's all these names that have contributed so much to ufology. George Knapp used to come to the Las Vegas events all the time and was a speaker. And so those have been some of my intellectual partners in trying to push the ball forward. And we all sort of have a different perspective on why to keep doing it.
So
I sort of took a break.
Ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this then. Do you think the UFOs are real?
Well, let's define real. The question is, are there extraterrestrial ones? Yes. Are there interdimensional ones? Probably. Yes. Are there man-made ones? Yes. Are there faked ones? from hobbyists or drones that are misidentified? Yes. So that's sort of, is there disinformation based activity with craft? Probably in some extents. So I think that answers it.
Do you believe then that the United States government and other governments around the world are in the know of this?
Yes. And the question is, know of what? And the know that, I mean, we think of Jaime Ashad's, I can't pronounce his Israeli name, his book in Hebrew, and interview in the Jerusalem Post recently, I don't know, a couple of years ago. He says we're part of or in discussions with this galactic federation, which seems a bit of a stretch, but it seems a credible man making this statement. Do many nations have deep expertise in various aspects of collecting data around UFOs and the nature of the phenomena and share that data? I think so. I think the UK does with the US to some extent. I don't know how open the Chinese are or the Russians, but I think there is some data sharing. But the ultimate secret, the mother of all secrets, is the gravity control. That, in my opinion, we figured out gravity control. Human beings deciphered the equations around 1960, plus or minus a couple of years, and that we've been off trying to build craft or have successfully built craft ourselves. And that technology, although extremely dangerous in one sense, is also the salvation for free electricity, food, water, etc., for uplifting the planet. So, but it's such a complicated, challenging thing to introduce a paradigm shifting, an economic shifting technology.
How do you think, with 2 minutes to go, how do you think anti-gravitics or free energy would change the world?
Well, it depends on how it's deployed, whether or not it's wrapped up in a black box with a linkage back to the National Security Administration, where if you touch the box, Marines show up quickly or something like that, or it's freely disseminated in the white world and fully explained. And so if you put 2% gravity, anti-gravity underneath the flywheel, it just keeps going forever. And so you get free electricity in your existing systems. So that's one way to do it. You can also, you still need all the science of biology and ecological work and the infrastructure of modern society to try to thoughtfully deploy the technology in a responsible way so that you don't have a 2,000-pound bomb flown across the globe and dropped on somebody in a matter of a couple of minutes.
That would usually not feel very good to the rest of us, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Would it change humanity?
Oh yeah, I think it would. It has the potential, along with fusion, to dramatic, super low cost fusion, existing fusion technologies that are being proposed right now amongst the 40 fusion companies don't really move the needle. They don't change the price of electricity at all. You need to lower it by a factor of 100 to start to change things. So it would allow the uplift of a modern society.
Ryan, hold on right there. We're going to take a break here. When we return on Spaced Out Radio, UFO Crash Retrievals. Did they let the kids drive the cars a little bit too hard on a Friday night? We'll find out next on the Mighty SOR. Oh my. That is so weird. This is either a really good pareidolia or we got a Bigfoot in a tree. I just don't know. Honestly, it looks like Tim James. If you zoom in. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. One second, Ryan. I don't know. Ryan, you see that?
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know what to make of it. It's pretty.
I'm trying to get it. Oh man, let's see if I can do this. Hold on, 'cause I got.
Where is this from, or what is it about?
This is in our research area from Saturday night.
Oh. Yeah. What am I looking at?
Apparently, the face of a Bigfoot in a tree.
Okay.
I know that looks like shit right now. Pardon my language, but yeah, this is why my good friend Tim Senor won't come back to Flight 21 crash site.
Mm.
I don't know if that's pareidolia or not. But my God, that looks like a face. I'm going to try something here. I'm going to take a picture of that and then zoom in on this one. Okay, done. Okay, stop. Now we're going to zoom in on the next one. Oh my, yeah, that looks way more like a face.
Okay. Yeah. Where'd you get the picture?
We caught that on camera at our investigation site.
Where's the what state are we in, or what province, or?
British Columbia. I'm in central British Columbia.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Weird. Whew. Awesome. Let's see. Little Timmy Senor, how you doing? Good to see you. Who else has hopped in here? Katie Page, you would love my area. You would. Cody Eiler, how are you? Purple Cupfish, good to see you. As everybody keeps coming on in.
Did Katie Page actually in the...
Katie Page is in the chat room.
Wow, I just talked to her the other day.
Yeah, she's one of my besties.
Okay.
In this field. Little Cam, how you doing? If Katie Page called me from Colorado and said somebody stepped on her toe, I would race over there and beat them up. That's what I think of Katie Page.
Oh, yeah.
I love her. I do. Gorgeous Kim Jellin, how are you? All right, we got about a minute here, my friend.
Okay.
Hi, Sensational Shelley. Goblin, how you doing? Area 53, thank you for adding to the super chat. So tonight we got super chats from Area 53 and Area 51. Kitty ×2, Kira ×2, T-Bone and Tim, thank you for the love and support, everybody. We really appreciate it. Hi, Kimberly Burgess. How are you, my good friend? Will I see you on Saturday at the museum? Let me know. That would be great. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our stuff out in public and be proud of it. Here we go, and like now. Here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Make that the second half hour. Man, I'm jumping ahead here because I'm so excited about tonight's show. My name is Dave Scott. Our guest is author, researcher, scientist Ryan S. Wood, and we're going to be talking about UFO Crash Retrievals coming up here momentarily. But first, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in and remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our archives for free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here he is, author Ryan S. Wood. He is a scientist. The guy is brilliant, and he wants to know all about ET technology, including why are they crashing on this planet? Or are they? Ryan, thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, I want you to tell everybody where they can find your amazing books.
Well, thanks, Dave. They're all on Amazon. We have Magic Eyes Only, which is all about UFO crashes, some 104. We also have the AI ufologist answering the big questions of ufology, like why are they here? What do they want? Why do they abduct humans? ... It goes on. These are the questions that fascinated me. And then my latest work is UFOs, Who Knows? ? And this is a book of famous quotations, some 185 different quotations from celebrities, astronauts, government, religious leaders, presidents, congressmen. We spent a lot of time working on celebrities as well as scientists. So you get all your walks of life are covered. So it allows you to go to your favorite mentor and get their opinion on UFOs, UAP, etc. And then my father, actually, my late father, has this book, Alien Viruses, with biowarfare and MJ12 and crashes too. So that's still sells pretty well as well. So those are all available on Amazon, and there's generally websites associated with each one that allow people to see more of the details of what's in the book or the discussions about the authenticity. And then what it all kicked off for me was the majesticdocuments.com website, which is, I think, been up for probably 25 years, 26 years now. So that is the major repository of all the leaked Majestic 12 documents. So that was a long-winded answer to that question.
Why do you think crashes happen?
Yeah. Well, it's a classic question, and there's lots of potential reasons. Some are more interesting than others. Well, one is that we try to shoot them down, and like in the LA air raid in 42 with proximity fuses and so forth. But you think that wouldn't work. And SAM missiles, they've tried that before. They also, Colonel Corso talked about radar and his interaction in his book with an alien asking the alien asking him to turn the radar off so he could leave. So radar, particularly old radar, which is sort of different waveforms and it's analog and so forth than modern high performance digital radar, may have a different effect on craft. There is also the natural phenomenon option where a good New Mexico thunderstorm in a negative lightning bolt, or positive lightning bolts and negative ones. The negative ones have 10x the energy of a positive one, and they're pretty rare. But nevertheless, that may have interfered with things. The other thing is the scenario that I favor, I guess, the most is that, when we exploded the atomic bomb, the extraterrestrial civilizations discovered or were reminded that, oh my goodness, planet Earth has crossed the threshold and we should pay more attention to it. And since we've seen this, planetary evolution 1,000 times before across the universe, the way to solve it is that we go dump advanced technology on their planet, and then they think about that and begin to work harder on science and physics and biology and education, which uplifts the humanity and mental acuity of the entire race in time and in generations. So that's another scenario, sort of an anthropological scenario. And then finally is that these are disposable biological drones traveling across the universe on one-way mission. And, why bother to pick them up? They're trash. We don't pick up the drones that are shot down or disposed of or fail in Ukraine. They're just left there or recycled or something. So it's a large panoply of potential reasons why they crash. I just remind everybody that the data is that they have crashed, and that it's trying to understand the aftermath is the important investigation requirement.
So you don't believe then that it is some teenaged alien taking his girlfriend out for a spin across the universe, and instead of making a left at Albuquerque, decides to crash into, somewhere in the U.S. or somewhere in the Mayan Riviera?
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a stretch. I mean, if you think even the dumb biological drone ETs have, 500 IQ and, 10,000 times the memory bandwidth of human, that they would be so, I guess, impulsive. The data, at least, is that they tend to have low emotions or no emotions, and so the joyride sounds like human being, with an emotional thrill, and I think it's far more logical approach with even a drone or a droid thinking.
There is so much speculation as to whether or not only are we being visited, but whether or not this technology is ours. Recently, the Wall Street Journal put out a very scathing look at ufology, basically saying none of it is real, that the government has been planting UFO stories and alien encounters in the minds of people for decades to try and hide their own technology. Where do you stand on this?
I'd say it's hooey. I would go directly, when I heard about that Wall Street Journal article, which I have not read, I was reminded that here are two more people that I think could be deliberate disinformation agents in ufology. I mean, ufology has a long history of disinformation and spies from Hillenkoetter at NICAP, when he was retired out of the CIA, wanting to keep tabs on what's going on, to Philip Klass, to Paul Benowitz, to Richard Doty, to all these other people that have been in and around muddying the waters and confusing things, or if not deliberately planting falsehoods. So I think for some enterprising researcher, this could be a very interesting book to analyze the myriad of disinformation efforts in print and in public. And are they trying to hide their advanced their advanced aerospace tech? Yeah, you bet. They certainly wouldn't want to display it or expose the fact that they might have flying triangle craft out up in their base up in Greenland. You wonder why Trump wants to buy Greenland? He wants more. I'm just speculating as far as
Hey,
what he wants.
On this show, Ryan, it is always aliens.
It's
no
always
matter
aliens.
what, it's
Yeah.
always aliens. So
Yeah.
I can respect that answer.
Yeah. So there's yeah. I mean, there are several books. I mean, I think of isn't it suspicious that Annie Jacobson, a very good author, very thoroughly researched and investigated, high quality work on Area 51, writes this tremendous tome, but fails to interview a lot of the key witnesses that were plugged into Area 51 in the more ET or alien aspects. And I just draw a question mark around her and say, I wonder whether or not she was paid or gotten to. And then you can't discount the fact that the CIA had a deliberate effort called Project Mockingbird to deliberately try to develop liaison relationships with the New York Times and other influential media outlets around this particular topic. And even the leaked Majestic documents in 1954 talk about the need to create diplomatic relationships with the various media elements to ensure effective control and denial of this alien presence or technology.
What about the argument coming out these days from that article that even the Tic Tacs were ours?
Well, I mean, that could very well be that the Tic Tacs are ours, the fact that they're playing with nuclear aircraft carriers and fighter jets, and they're visible out there. I mean, that's not that unusual in that the ETs tend to like things that are have atomic piles in them or have enriched plutonium, uranium, be it around Minutemen silos that were interfered with in '67 with Robert Salas's firsthand testimony, or the people in Oak Ridge in the 1950s, where there's FBI teletypes. They clearly said, we had all sorts of flying saucers over this restricted airspace for 3 or 4 nights in a row. And so the whole UAP and nukes is UFO and nukes is very strong, and the linkages there. Michael, I wouldn't rule it out that it's our stuff, but then if it's our stuff, why expose it? Why tip your hand? It's just like you don't want to keep that. You keep that in reserve. You don't want to do that. You wouldn't really want to expose the fact that you have that advanced technology. So that's probably the biggest reason why it's not our stuff, but genuine ET stuff.
Yeah, see, the way I kind of looked at it was that I've had some conversations with some people I call insiders and some people that I call friends who've taken a look at a lot of this, and some of them have even worked at secret bases, maybe in Nevada, maybe not. Can't tell you. But I can say this, that a lot of what they are saying behind the scenes is places like Lockheed are not 50 years ahead in technology anymore. They are more like 100 to 150 years ahead in technology. Have you heard this too, and do you buy into that?
Well, clearly they're ahead. The question is how far is the big question. Michael Schratt and his work on various cases, and we're working on a new book called Gravity Wars: The Silver Bullets of Aerospace, and we're trying to look into that. I mean, it all boils down to the gravity control and the propulsion systems. If you've cracked that, you can make it smaller, lighter, better, cheaper, all those things. And if you have gravity, then you can start to do better work on spacecraft design and the support for humans in space. You know, can you give them artificial gravity? And how fast can you go? Can you go to, you know, local planets, or can you go to other star systems? I'm just reminded of Ben Rich is upon his retirement in 1993 in Los Angeles to his peers saying, you know, we found a mistake in the equations and we know how to take ET home, and it won't take a lifetime to do it. And, you know, he's not the only one who said stuff like that. But given the fact that he was head of Lockheed Skunk Works for 15 years, and, you know, there's no reason for him to lie. I think that's true. And so they are ahead. The question is, if they're so far ahead, you know, why are they leaving planet Earth, their mothership, their families, their world, in the dirt? Why not do something to try to elevate this society? And I think this is the yin and yang that they have, the transparency versus secrecy. I'm reminded of Teller, Edward Teller, who, the father of the H-bomb, who was a big advocate of transparency and sharing the truth and telling the world about UFOs, the way Kennedy was in some of the national security action memorandums that he authored to James Webb at NASA to tell the truth to the Russians, and let's go to the moon together, which didn't sit well with a lot of people. One additional reason why he might have been killed. So it's hard to say how far ahead they are. Are they ahead? Yes. And, you know, it's an exponential curve, you know, where AI is improving every quarter. And so, you know, if their stuff is improving every quarter, it's really way out there. But that was a good question, Dave. Thank you for that.
Here's one of the things that, I'm like everybody else, where we don't know what's deep inside Area 51. We don't know what's at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base or Dugway or Dulce or wherever these secret bases may be. When you use your sources and your knowledge from the people you talk about, what are they hiding that we might preconceive as UFOs?
Well, they certainly have crashed craft and intact craft and bodies, and and so that's the baseline. I mean, they probably had that. Well, they had it in 1941 in the Cape Girardeau UFO event, and then they didn't do much with it until Roswell happened in 47, and then later convinced Truman in the September of 47 to stand up the CIA and establish the top secret research and development intelligence gathering organization called Majestic 12, and then break the Army and the Air Force apart, and continue on with trying to exploit these celestial gifts. And how successful they've been, what they've been able to pass on to society, and what they've kept in reserve is probably hotly debated. Corso highlighted, fiber optics, integrated circuit, night vision goggles, things like that. And some technologies more obviously, shall I say, purloined or stolen or enhanced than others. But there's just so much we don't know. And the biology part is also a big, huge hole. If they had bodies in 47, this is the middle of the biological warfare time. Virology and bacteriology were all just emerging then. You think they aren't taking serums from ETs and creating bioweapons just in case? I suspect that science was done. Maybe it was destroyed, but I'm sure that they thought about it or did it.
Where do you think they are storing these non-biologic entities and these craft?
Well, the usual suspects are Area 51 and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, but most likely, I suspect that they have. There's the remote viewing reports of a joint base down in Pine Gap, and then there's alien base up in Alaska and the Pyrenees and things like that. These are alien bases. But I'm sure that the world is a big place. Deep underground bases in Southern California, so-called DUMBs, or the work of Richard Sauter with his Underground Bases and Tunnels book, which sort of dives deep into that, or the work of Nick Redfern in his book called Keep Out, where he highlights a variety of different locations where things are operational. White Sands Proving Grounds is also another sort of quieter, more unsung hero of the UFO secret world, where I think a lot of activity happens. And I'm sure that there's other operational bases in Europe or a different side of the planet. That's just my speculation on informed.
Roswell, if we look, we got about 1 minute left before we go to break. Roswell was always thought of as handicapped Russian children, according to the U.S. Army back in the day. That was the legalized statement, if we could call it that. But many people believe it was alien grays. If we have those bodies, would they be preserved? Would they be buried? Because there are people who are still arguing that point.
Yeah, I think that they would not bury it. The intelligence operation would be so important. They would do their best to take it and use it. Now, they may have buried some body in the middle of nowhere because they couldn't get it out and the bad guys were coming or some other obscure reading, but the policy would be absolutely, let's pick it and take it to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base or what's called OPNAC BBS-01.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just so deep. Like, I don't think the regular public could actually follow how deep this rabbit hole goes. It's
I
incredible.
agree with you, Dave. It's very deep and sophisticated, and it's
Well, let's talk about the rabbit hole when we come back, and then we will get some audience questions as well in hour number 2. Author Ryan S. Wood is here. You can find his books on Amazon. The AI Ufologist, Magic Eyes Only. We are going to take this on next on the Mighty SOR.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
All right, my friend, we have about 6 minutes here
Okay.
to take a quick break. We're going to turn things over to the dirty one here, and he'll be showing off his cartoon.
cool. The road trip.
Oh, I'm sweating to death here. Hold on, let me get the little booster seat up here. Okay, so, all right, if you're still watching here, we've
Yeah, I am.
Carl, Stanton, and Alan, the 3 gray aliens, and they're on their little road trip. And Stanton's saying to Carl, "The man at the counter told me the girls like this style of tattoo." And Carl's saying, "Above your butt crack seems like a weird spot." And Alan is saying, "Guys, this person just got his nipple punctured. Gruesome." Because the 3 gray aliens have been sent to Earth to attempt to figure out Earth life and everything. But I have here to make it make sense. It's a little bit of a comic book to go through here. So Carl gets FAA certified. He says, "Hey Fabrice, just got my FAA certificate in the mail." "Well, it must be a mistake, my boy. It really is true. May the gods help us all." So then Carl borrows Fabrice's UFO. He shows up with Stanton and Alan, and Stanton says, "Are you sure Fabrice let you drive his UFO?" And he's obviously sweating a little bit because he didn't get permission, as per teenagers do. So they stop at the Zeta Mart, and he says, "Fabrice, blow me my bank card." And they say, "Hey, I hope you're telling the truth." So they got their snacks and their beef jerky and Slurpees and dill pickle chips and everything. And then he says, "Carl, I told you left at Albuquerque." Carl says, "Oh man, Fabrice is going to be so pissed." And Stanton's got his new back tattoo there. He's like, "My back is itchy." And then poor old man Fabrice is just sitting at home, and he gets a call. "They crashed my UFO where?" So basically now Fabrice has to go pick up the boys from the bus stop in somewhere in Roswell around there. So
That's fun.
yeah, so
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I have a huge collection of comics that my father collected in all UFO related comics, and it was pretty hot and heavy in the 50s and 60s. They did a lot of comics. Yeah, I should organize those.
I also have a live gray alien here. This is Fabrice. He's the old alien.
Yeah, don't let your dog get a hold of that.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have enough space for a dog, but I have 2 rowdy cats. Those boys are just out of control, and luckily enough, they don't bother them too much.
Yeah.
My accomplice and I, we've been putting some drawings together, and she's been making plushies out of the characters. So we have I live in Edmonton. There's a art walk. If anybody lives in Edmonton, go to the art walk, July 11th to 13th. Buy some art. There's going to be like 400 artists there. But most importantly, come see Fox Vegas and Dirty Filth. That's a shameless plug. Anyways, we've been doing a whole bunch of them. I made the Carl, Stanton, and Alan, obviously named after UFO nerds. And they sold out the first day we made them. It was a combination of a drawing, that little plushie, and adoption papers and stickers and a bunch of stuff. So everybody was happy with it. One of the aliens lives in Glendale, Arizona right now. And I keep getting pictures from his new owner, and he's riding a bike all over the place, and he's going to the Cardinals stadium, and he's living a good life. So it's pretty neato.
Yeah. Oh, it's all well done. It was great to see you do it live.
Oh, I thank you very much. I appreciated Dave's joke about the left turn in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
That was my accomplice, Fox Vegas, her idea. She goes, well, we should make a crash of... I'm not very good at writing, so I got her doing all my writing and everything. We've been friends for a while. And anyway, rambling away. But also, just for anybody that's listening on YouTube and whatever, if you sit on YouTube and you'd like to join every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, except for July 12th, I'll be drawing card, or I'll be at the art walk. But every Saturday, 2 p.m. Pacific on Spaced Out Radio, I'll be drawing cartoons and taking questions, rambling about why peanut butter is better with honey than yes. So feel free to join me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's almost time to go give the cat some snacks though, because it's very important.
Yeah.
Redditors.
Yeah.
Filthy, you're the best, buddy. You're the
I try my
absolute
best.
best.
All right, Dave. Have a good night. Mr. Wood, you have a great night as well.
All right.
Take care,
Thanks.
everyone.
All right, my friend. Are you ready for the second hour?
Sure. Q&A. Well, we can do more stuff. I mean, we talk about the AI ufologist a little bit.
Sure. We got time. Big thank you tonight to Area 51 ×2, Area 53, Richard, Tim, T-Bone, Kitty, Caddywhack ×2, and Kira ×2 for the amazing super chats. Greatly appreciate your love. If you're on YouTube listening in, put your questions in capital letters. I will get them to our great guest. Here we go. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us each and every night. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Kalology. Kalology is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to our guest, Ryan S. Wood. He is an author, researcher, and a scientist looking into the great UFO phenomena. We're going to talk quickly about his book, The AI Ufologist. Ryan, thank you so much for being here tonight. We appreciate you.
Well, thanks, Dave. It's good to be here. And actually, you know, the AI ufologist is an interesting experience for me. I mean, I was using AI for my work, for my job, and I had a bunch of UFO books, all scanned and OCR'd, which I had started long ago, like 2005 or 6, when Google and basic search was the only way to do it. And so I fed 100 books into ChatGPT, actually a custom program that I created called UFODex, UFODEX.com. And it asked it the first question, you know, why are they here? What's the agenda? And I was so impressed with the answer in the ufological context that I asked the next question, you know, well, why did they abduct humans? And kept going with, you know, why do they care about humans? Why haven't they made open contact? What could the governments be hiding? How would confirmation of extraterrestrial life affect human society? And that's the question 6. And I got these crisp, you know, paragraphs and multi-page answers, you know, 1,000, 2,000 word answers. They were very well reasoned and thoughtful and sophisticated. And I was sort of possessed and just used this tool. And I finished the whole book in like 16 hours. It was just like, and the questions that I was personally interested in, and they got increasingly complicated and challenging in my mind. Simple ones like what are the functions of MJ12 in relation to the extraterrestrial presence? What are their goals and objectives? So, what are the bad guys trying to do? Assuming extraterrestrial biology is unique and a different form, completely different in evolutionary perspective, how and why would militaries weaponize captured ETs? Or something like this, money and capital control the economics of most of the global civilization, the business transactions, commerce, products, and services. Describe the technologies or situations that would disrupt or rewire the political, economic, and social paradigm that exists today in relation to concrete disclosure of the extraterrestrial presence with crashed UFO hardware and dead alien entities. And that was question 19. And so it goes for 30 questions. And I guess I was really thoroughly excited about the quality of the answers, and have since then enhanced my tool UFODEX, UFODEX.com, to some 680,000 pages of material. And you can just go to that website and type in any question you want. You don't get an answer in real time. I mean, it takes 8 hours or 24 hours to get an answer. But you get this concierge service of me reading your question, helping your question, and you can make sure you get a good answer. So that was the sort of my attempt to use AI to try to dominate the intelligence problem. And it's still a garbage in, garbage out situation. You want to make sure that it's only high quality material that's in the data set. And that's what I did. There's 750 of the best UFO books in there. There's all the periodicals, Flying Saucer Review, MUFON, QFOS, bunch of smaller, obscure ones in history, NICAP, and then newspaper articles, and then my National Archive, a big collection of FBI files. So I really tried to make it a useful data set that's strong and credible to query to get answers.
It's hard to believe that aliens could be biological AI type entities. Many people believe that the Greys might be something like this. Have you ever delved into what their potential biologics could be?
Not really, other than I think there was a few authors that talked about nested symbolic imagery that allows for enhanced memory recall. If you interview the smartest people in memorizing things, they use a lot of different tricks that allow them to relate one thing to another to enhance the memory recall. But this is a great question, Dave, for UFODEX, is to plug it in and say, how is the biology of how is the memory of aliens, how does it operate? And I think we'd find a good response. And it's referenced too. You get 1,000-word answer that's referenced to particular books or periodicals, or and it's well thought out. So I urge everybody to just get their questions out and, bury me in questions. There's also a frequently asked questions on the ufodex.com website that people can look at called the AI Ufologist Speaks. So it's a neat tool, $15 on Amazon. For somebody new to ufology, I would hand them that, provided they're interested in the topic.
I'm so excited about this. So excited about this. I mean, do you think then that these craft are of a technology extremely higher than what we are seeing with what we know about current AI?
Are you thinking the craft or AI based? Or
that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. I can't rule anything out. It's clearly the occupants and the craft are at one with each other, at least in genuine cases. I mean, I'm reminded of Linda Moulton Howe's picture. I think of one event where there was hands in repositories or sort of a mold that allows you to control the craft, or stories to that effect, and that other psychics tried to do it and they never could make it work. So I think it is a hybrid situation. Do I think our human versions of these craft are like that? I'm less confident, but psi ability or psychic or ESP ability is, I think, much more developed in the bad guys or the control group or the MJ-12 people or the people operating the craft, our man-made craft, than the typical human walking planet Earth.
Oh, I love it. I love it. What do you think the craft are made of then?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I'm of the opinion that it's all nuts and bolts and hard physical evidence or physical, but not completely. For example, I mean, we have the Art's parts, the famous layered bismuth magnesium part that came to Art Bell and then went to Linda Moulton Howe and is now with other researchers at Stanford. I'm trying to remember their name. And they're trying to analyze them. They certainly can't seem to make this unusual piece of metal. And they don't know what it's good for. And it seems otherworldly. And there are other parts too. I mean, Antonio Huneeus did work with various parts, as well as Roger Lear, and many. There's lots of physical evidence. I mean, not lots, but many cases of it that have been analyzed at various steps that show that it's interesting and anomalous. So I tend to lean the fact that it's hard and physical and real. However, one of the remote viewing sessions that I became aware of from Major Ed Dames long ago, when he was remote viewing the Tunguska sort of Siberian Russian explosion event, and he said, that was an ET craft that self-destructed or exploded, and it was a biologic craft. It was sort of mostly biology, and you could think that, if you're going to travel across the stars and the galaxies, many of the aspects of biology are very useful. Immune systems, self-repair, healing, things like that. Those are attributes that are helpful for space travel rather than, I broke apart and maintenance is back on Earth and I don't have a spare one. Or so I could go either way, but it seems to be a combination of both is the best answer.
I know I asked you prior in the last half hour about, how far ahead we are with the technology here. Do you think we have been able to really dig into these crash retrievals and take a look from the inside to see how they're made, how they're running, whether it's propulsion systems, whether it's anti-gravitics, maybe it's anti-fuel? We don't really know. How far do you think we've been able to get with this?
Well, that's a great question. Well, I point to the majestic documents again. So General Twining tasked a guy by the name of Zimmerman at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in 47 and a whole crack team to take a look at the craft and write up a report. It's called the White Hot Report, and it's on the Majestic Documents website. And you can read it. And they have a 10-point description of the neutronic power plant inside and descriptions of many other aspects of their analysis of the bodies, the parts, the navigation, the details, the technology. And so that's an early on analysis. And many of the other Majestic documents make reference to, they called it ULAT, Unidentified Lenticular Aerodyne Technology, ULAT, and the various other documents like gray suit and different code words that have much more information which never been leaked or supplied. So yeah, they would definitely to keep reverse engineering it and trying to figure out what it is. How far they've gotten, I think that they've figured out the gravity control aspects. They probably figured out some base level materials. I think there's probably many types of craft that they maybe figured out how to basically operate, but really couldn't operate completely or fully. And there's probably others that they're still stumped with. I remember Michael Schratt in one of his books that some scientist beat his head against the craft metaphorically for months until he finally sort of psychically or mentally asked the craft to open the door, and then it did it. So it's like, there's lots of very interesting stories. Get your questions into UFODex.
We all want to know whether or not we are alone in the universe and whether or not we have been visited. Do you think that they being the governments of the world, namely the United States, will ever come out with allowing us to know? Do you think they want us to know?
Yeah. Well, this is quite a bit of a debate in the UFO community. There are many people, Stephen Bassett and Danny Sheehan and Ross Coulter and many of the people that seem to, Grush and so forth, are advocating and pushing for some form of disclosure or acknowledgement. But it's possible that Trump could say, yep, we have evidence. We're all God's children, but ETs are here too. And I'm really not going to tell you anything more about that. The question is really ultimately, how much do you share and what do you start saying? And And is it a long-term process? Is it, well, let's take the next 10 years and drip it out to you in a way. I mean, to some extent, you can look back and say Hollywood has done that for the past 30 years with Independence Day and more children's programmings with, Leo and Stitch from Disney and all these sort of acclimatization efforts are real, and we've been exposed to it. We're just, lots of people aren't happy with the rate of disclosure, and the question is, how disruptive it will be, and that depends upon what you say. And so many smart people, I think of Dolan and Zabel wrote their book AD After Disclosure, and many others have written thoughtful pieces on how to do this and what the implications are and the economic turmoil that will result or not. So it's a real conundrum.
I always wonder, because I don't think that they're going to allow the secrets to come out. I really don't. I think if they have been able to figure out how to reverse engineer these craft and what they are hiding, to me, I think the secrets hidden behind national security and them always having to have the biggest and best and baddest toys on the planet, I don't see where they come out with it. I just don't. There's a real selfishness there.
Yeah, it's right on, Dave. I think that's a great assessment. And it's up to us in the white world, the open world, to try to figure out the technology and use it for the betterment of mankind, and so it can be done. I mean, the work of the Leonard community, low energy nuclear reactions, has been going on for a long time, and they seem to keep making subtle insights into the nature of physics. And is string theory a dead end? I think it maybe is. Could you start to put money into more fundamental gravity-based research? Absolutely. And there's plenty of experiments that can be done to support that. It's sort of follow the money. If you give me $100 million, I guarantee you we can make a lot of progress in understanding the nature of gravity. But I don't think that level of money has been invested at all. And then there's people like Lewis Whitten, who's 102, who's still alive, which I believe knows the truth. He was around in the 60s and knows the equations. Maybe he's forgotten them now. He's 102, and there is, classified science and classified equations, and I don't think that's going to come out. And it's probably buried in so many different compartments that it's David Grush had a terrible time trying to find it. He knocked on doors and they said, well, yeah, we got the stuff, but no, you can't have it, and no, you can't be read into the programs, and go away. And that's the same response that Congress is getting.
Well, you know what? As we got about 40 seconds to go before we go to break, it is the ultimate conundrum to the future of humanity, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's also the ultimate key. If the goal is to, join the cosmic kindergarten in 50 years or 70 or 80 years, then there's a bunch of stuff we have to do. And there's a criteria.
When we return, we're going to get to some audience questions on Spaced Out Radio for our guest, Ryan S. Wood. What a great show about AI technology and UFOs. That's what we do here on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. All right, let me get you off mute here. There we go.
Yeah.
Are you having fun? I know we're keeping you up late, but are you having fun?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's fine. I mean, the more you practice it, the better you get at it. It was Katie Page, me, and Nick Redfern. Not Nick Redfern, Nick Pope. We were recorded on the Groovy Gavin show. I've never heard of it before. It's got 1.2 million subscribers on YouTube. So that was a very interesting, wide-ranging discussion. He's sort of just getting exposed to the topic and had questions about Rendlesham and Roswell and cover-ups and the skeptics' opinions and so forth. So that was kind of a recent fun thing that we did down in Contact in the Desert.
Right. Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah.
1 second here.
I've concluded that I can never be a host.
No.
I can't come up with these insightful questions so quickly after the monologues that I give. I suppose you have thoughtful questions planned out, but still, it's surprising. There's a definite skill to being a host, and you're doing a great job.
I think first of all, you have to have a face for radio in order to do it. I definitely got a face for radio.
That's right, or a voice for radio, right?
Well, both.
Yeah, both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. Yeah. The question should be
2.5 minutes.
Yeah. The question should be fun. See what people are thinking.
Yeah, our audience is. I'm very blessed with a very brilliant audience.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to keep the answers just short and sweet so we can get to a lot of questions. Is that all?
Yeah, right now, I'm sitting with about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 questions from our audience, so take your time. Once we get going, there will be more.
Yeah. Yeah, the Who Knows book is also a very powerful sort of primer introduction for people. There
you go.
Yeah. Who Knows book. Yeah. Famous quotes. We start with the astronauts, Gordon, Mitchell, Irwin, Musgrave, celebrities, Bowie, Lennon, Richards, Miley Cyrus, Aaron Rodgers, Glenn Ford, Dan Aykroyd, Jackie Gleason, Keanu Reeves, Katy Perry, Alicia Keys, stuff like that. And then there's lots of scientists and engineers, but it's the celebrities that often hook in people that are sort of on the fence. It's a book about credibility in my mind, credibility for the field, allowing people to say, "Wow, all these smart people with big resumes said very interesting things." So
I will get you to hold on right there. We're coming back in 35 seconds. I want to say a big thank you tonight to Area 51 ×3. Great hat trick. Very much appreciate it. Hi, Area 53. Thank you for the super chat. Richard, Kitty ×2, Kira ×2, Tim, and T-Bone, thank you for the great love and support tonight. We greatly appreciate it. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out. And here we go. We're at the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for taking us in, putting on your tinfoil, talking UFOs with us. It just makes the night go so much faster, doesn't it? My name is Dave Scott. Our guest, Ryan S. Wood, will join us momentarily. But first, we want to remind all of you that you can listen to this show or others on every major podcast network and on YouTube. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Our good friend Ryan S. Wood, the author of The AI Ufologist, Magic Eyes Only, and many more. His books can be found on Amazon as we speak. We're going to get some audience questions here for you, Ryan. Thank you for being here tonight.
thank you, Dave. I'll look forward to the questions.
All right. Joe is asking, what's the deal with all the jerks telling us that all crashed UFOs are just a gift to us?
I would say that not necessarily a gift. Well, they could be a gift. There's certainly a conundrum, and there's many reasons why they crash, which we sort of talked about earlier in the program, from lightning bolts to radar to shoot them down. But it's very possible that they are a celestial gift. I mean, that was actually a direct quote from I think General Hap Arnold, or maybe I'm misremembering that. But yeah, there was a it was one of the early Majestic documents in like 44, and it was I think Roosevelt who said, these celestial gifts. But anyway, there's they definitely could be gifts, or maybe they're Trojan horses.
Seymour is asking, what is your best guess on the timeline for model collapse, and how far will it stretch?
I guess timeline for model collapse. I'm not sure I understand what model. He's talking about an AI model or
probably.
Yeah. Model collapse would be maybe artificial general intelligence, maybe. I know that Facebook and Zuckerberg are just going whole hog on trying to get to artificial general intelligence right away. I suspect that the models as they are right now are extremely useful. And if they don't do anything, if everything froze right now, the productivity of the planet would be definitely enhanced. But they'll keep going. And I suspect that, we're inside 5 years from artificial general intelligence. I mean, the latest graph I saw just today in a podcast I was working on saying GPT-3 Omni or something like that, or what are the higher performing ones? Is it an IQ level of 130? And you got to get to 160 to be artificial general intelligence. So, a few years.
Let's go to Brendan. Were the Majestic 12 in violation, in your opinion, of domestic testing law?
Domestic testing law. Well, the laws change over time, and I would say today, absolutely. But back then in the 40s and 50s, probably less. And when you say testing, the question is testing of what? Testing of, serums extracted from ET bodies tested in humans, probably definitely a violation. But the CIA is replete with all sorts of bad questions. But this is a good one for UFODex, to plug it in to ask at ufodex.com in the AI bot there, and you'll get your answer back in 12 hours, 24 hours. That'd be a good question.
Let's make our way over to our next question from Kim. What's the best AI answer to why are they here using your AI tool?
Yeah, why are they here? Well, that's a great question. And when you say best, it's really difficult to say because multiple races are here and they have differing missions, so to speak. The tall whites have sort of a different plan or approach to humans than, say, grays or reptilians. So some of the typical responses as to why they're here: scientific study, resource acquisition, where they want more biology, maybe plant biology or human biology and so forth, or maybe gold. I doubt it. Benevolent guidance, provide some guidance to humanity to be a better, more empathetic society. Benevolent intentions, we certainly hear about those. They could just not give a damn, the indifference approach. They want to survive. Their planet is dying, and they decide planet Earth is kind of hollow underneath. Antarctica is a big place. We can hang out there. So they may be just, coming around that. They may have dispatched a diplomatic corps on a 100-year mission to sort of infiltrate and nurture humanity along to get to a diplomatic relationship. Genetic manipulation, we've heard that from many abductees, that they've been manipulating the human race and their DNA, or epigenetics as well as their DNA. So that's another thing. More esoteric cosmic consciousness. Aliens might represent an advanced cosmic consciousness that seeks to infuse human thought with higher knowledge and awareness. Their agenda might be to gradually guide humanity towards a deeper understanding of the universe, expanding our consciousness and enlightening us. So that's a cross section. I think I gave you 10. There's 14 listed in the book. But again, if there's some particular one that you're particularly hot on, you can put it in the AI ufologist and to give you a 1,000-word answer. Or I don't care about anything but the grays. The grays are pissing me off. And what's the grays agenda? Or what is the difference between the reptilians and the draconians agenda with planet Earth? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I just use the tool to search it up. And many people have thought about this.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's a deep thought and a deep dive as well. That's for sure. Let's go over to Magnolia. Could disclosure mean that we'll have to live under an alien-controlled government?
Ah, that's a great question. Well, some people believe that the aliens are in charge. And I'll give you an example. When President Obama was interviewed on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Kimmel asked him, why don't you tell us about the aliens? And his response sort of coyly and humorously said, well, the aliens are really in charge and they don't want us to tell you about them. And I think he's actually telling the truth. Is to some extent there are certain aspects in subtle ways that are being manipulated. Like what's the most important thing to manipulate? I don't know. Is it the economic structure? Is it the technology structure? Is it the political structure?
I don't know.
Or is it really the command that is the most dangerous thing to the alien or interdimensional races? It's a great question.
All right, let's move on. Let's say hello next to T-Bone, who is asking, do we have inertia dampening or damping?
Yeah, that's the same thing as gravity control, in essence, of being able to manipulate inertia. And maybe not fully or 100%, but maybe 70%. Or I think this is all wrapped into the nature of gravity control, different than anti-gravity, which is really not right. It's really about propulsion and force and the control of gravity, which involves inertial dampening. So the answer is yes, certain organizations, maybe in Lockheed or other spin-off organizations, have the secret to that technology.
Let's go to JSCO, who is asking, thank you for being here, Ryan. What is the singular most impressive UFO-related thing you have seen with your own eyes? Please describe.
UFO thing. Well, it's sort of the single most impressive thing is the preponderance of the evidence, all the photographs and pictures and stories. I mean, my book, Magic Eyes Only, is the preponderance of evidence. It is a review of 104 UFO crash cases from around the world of varying quality and sophistication. And it is those stories, those witness testimonies, those majestic documents. So I guess one of the original leaked majestic documents, Encyclopedia of Flying Saucers, for example, where you've got top secret magic stamps on it in red and pen and pencil marks and so forth. That's probably one of the most significant things I've seen. I mean, personally, driving back from college near Vandenberg Air Force Base, I see some lights in the sky, pull over my car, get out the binoculars, look around, it moves around. I watch it for a couple minutes and I drive home, and no missing time, no nothing like that. So that's sort of been my extent of my personal experience besides being an investigator and a researcher.
Let's go to T-Bone again. Does time travel play a part in all of this?
Yes, I think time travel does play a part in all this. Is that if you can manipulate gravity, you can manipulate time. And you can change the speed of light, you can manipulate time. The question is, what's the nature of the manipulation of time? Or are you really, is it a big effect or a little effect? And, can you navigate through time the way the time tunnel movies or the popular movies have highlighted, and I just don't know. It's just a lot of speculation, but it's clear that time is definitely involved in the
Do you
gravity.
think that we already have time travel technology?
Um, it's hard to say. I don't know. That's actually a good question for UFODEX. I think the answer is yes in a limited way, but rolling back the timeline of planet Earth to say this person gets elected and this person doesn't get elected, or um, or manipulating inflection points in technological development of human history, I think is beyond the capability of man. It may not be beyond the capability of aliens, but I think it's beyond ours.
What about the theorized jump rooms?
Can you explain more?
Well, apparently there are jump rooms out there where you can, almost skip through time, kind of like the Austin Powers theory of going into the time warp.
I really haven't heard much about that. I don't really know.
Oh, I fantasize about that. Just fantasize about these jump rooms and time travel because I think they're there. I just don't know whether it's been admitted to it or not.
Well, the challenge is you either go forward in time or backward in time. And how do you get back, or what knowledge do you bring with you from the past or with you from the future? And how does that change the timeline, or what do you do with it? Or is it a fun experience? And oh, by the way, you have to take this injection that erases your memory too.
I've always wondered about whether or not, we're looking at different dimensions or where maybe dimensions are clashing. Maybe this is why people are claiming there's a Mandela effect. I'm just curious what you think.
Well, I mean, I certainly think that remote viewing and psychic phenomenon and that accessing that super consciousness, be it into the past or into the future, with some probabilistic future, is very real, and it seems to travel faster than the speed of light. It's instantaneous, and at least that's the science and experiments done by Targ and Puthoff and Dean Radin and many of the other people that have studied this psychic phenomenon in many ways. So I'd say the best time travel machine is your own mind if trained properly.
Let's move on to another question here. Let's go to Derek, who is asking, do you believe alien races experienced artificial intelligence and are here to warn humanity of the dangers it can bring?
Well, yeah, that seems to be some of the themes that have emerged lately at the Contact in the Desert Forum, as well as I think in maybe Whitley Strieber's Fourth Mind book, but that's more about the Greys exclusively. Yeah, there seems to be the warnings that we get are fairly uniform. Nukes are bad. Don't mess with advanced technology, such as AI, etc., or slow down. Be thoughtful. You're screwed up the environment. Fix that, because you're killing the planet. And your wars are ridiculous, and these nukes are going to kill you all, and you need to get rid of them. And so those seem to be the sort of, I mean, there's subtleties all along the way, but those are the primary themes that you get from the contactees that are warning, or the messages that channeled or contactee messages that experiencers get from the alien races.
Carrie is asking, have you ever heard of the possibility that UFOs are ancient technology, UFOs that were dug up and reversed engineered?
Yeah, this is more along the ancient alien approach. Universally, our modern times is what, 100, few hundred years, 1,000 years, few thousand years, depending upon where you put the timeline, and uh, and they've been around for billions of years. So yeah, there's lots of ancient technology that's probably here on Earth that may have been dug up or brought up or discovered, or somebody's walking through the brush and comes across an abandoned saucer. That's plausible. And reverse engineered is I think they may have made minor progress in some aspects. I'm reminded of was Ben Rich at Skunkworks. It said UFOs stand for unfunded opportunities. And so I think that the aerospace world would love to reverse engineer more of it, but they don't get the money and they don't get the parts to work on it.
We have about 3.5 minutes left with you tonight, and I would love to get your overall view of what you think is going to be coming down the pike in the next, well, let's say by the end of 2025, leading up to this element of information that apparently 2027 is supposed to be the year where everything explodes in this topic. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, let's start with 2025. I think there'll probably be a few more congressional hearings which won't amount to much. People will continue to try to claw at the government for more and more information, and it will continue to be hidden. The independent UFO community will chug along at a slow, unproductive pace. Disclosure won't happen in any way. I'd give it 50-50 that Trump might say something, but very minimally. Just because he's such an egomaniac that he might decide that that'd be useful for his legacy to say, yeah, I'm the guy who did it. But as far as 2027 goes, or some future date, I just think the criteria, the government's not going to tell the truth. They don't want to. It's always, more challenging. Will science and technology advance via AI, enabling more progress? That'll be a steady progress. There might be a breakthrough, a black swan event, so to speak. I mean, the black swan events would be somebody figures out gravity, somebody figures out low-cost fusion, which is what my day job is, or somebody figures out practical immortality is another very real thing. Those are some. There's other black swan events that could happen. You could have 3 or 4 nukes go off in the Middle East and have that powder keg explode in a way that won't kill the planet, but might really shake up the world. I think it's more along the line of it's not going to happen in 2027. Maybe it's 2037 or 2047. It's hard to know. And timelines with psychic phenomena and remote viewing are often screwed up. They get the vision right, but the timeline's off.
My friend, it is that time of the night where I have to say good night to you. It has been an absolute pleasure, Ryan, to have you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. Hopefully not the last, because this has been a lot of fun for us. And we encourage all of our listeners to head on to Amazon. Ryan S. Wood, get all of his books for your archives. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller, then Robin Haynes with the Cryptid Q&A. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope we did a great job for you.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Hopefully, it was what you wanted, and you found some of my comments interesting.
I really appreciate it, and thank you for taking us down the road, man.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care, Dave.
Take care. Have a good
See
night.
ya.
Ryan S. Wood, everybody. What a great time. I'll be right back. I'm excited for this segment. Hi, Robin Haynes. How are you, beautiful? Can you hear me, Robin? Robin, can you hear me? I don't think she can hear me. Robin, can you hear me?
No sound.
Okay, you gotta click out and come back in. Go out and then come back in. All right, big thank you to Kira ×2, T-Bone ×2, Area 51 with 3, Area 53, and Tim, Kitty Caddywhack ×2, Rob, Richard, thank you very much for the love tonight. Greatly appreciate you guys, and we're going to have a good night with Robin here. I hope we can connect here. Hi, Robin.
Hi.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We have Swamp Dweller and Robin Haynes coming up next for the Cryptid Q&A. It's going to be a great fast hour on everything that we do. Why? Because we just burn through this show. Burn through it. It's just so amazing. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Kalology. Kalology is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
So, I and two of my buddies were up Lone Peak Canyon with a plan to sleep under the stars and leave the next day. So we got everything set up and decided to go swim in the lake. On our way back, we saw a single deer with abnormally large eyes and ears, and it had odd proportions in general. I've grown up in Utah Valley my whole life, and I've seen thousands of deer, so I know what they usually look and act like. The deer was sitting on a rock like a dog, and it turned its head to watch us without giving any reaction. Its head seemed to turn and follow while its body stayed perfectly still. It almost looked like its head was detached from its body. I decided that it was just an odd occurrence and that I should just ignore it. This was at 4 p.m. About 30 minutes later, we were at our campsite and we saw the same deer chasing another. But it stopped and continued to just look at us for maybe 5 minutes. When we all looked away, it almost just disappeared. Maybe it took off as soon as we looked away, but this was also odd. 30 minutes after that, we saw the same deer, probably 200 yards away up on the side of the hill overlooking us. It stayed there for at least 45 minutes, just staring at us. The fourth time we saw it was later around 9:30 p.m. when we were in our sleeping bags, getting ready to go to bed. The deer came up from the river that we were next to, probably 20 feet away, and just looked at us again for maybe 2 minutes and then went back down. The same thing happened again in the same spot 15 minutes later. It almost seemed to be checking if we had gone to sleep yet. It continued to check on us one more time, 15 minutes later again. At this point, I was a little freaked out, but didn't want to say anything because I was afraid my friends would say I was imagining things. So, we all tried to go to bed. And at about 10:30 to 10:45, we started hearing something maybe 10 feet away just under the hill that led to where the river was. We continued to hear what sounded like a deer walking in the river and coming to check on us. Every time it would get close, we would start talking and shine our lights into the trees to see if we could see anything. This happened enough to the point that we grabbed everything and left at midnight. On our way down, my buddy said they kept seeing silhouettes off to our sides. The entire way down we kept seeing weird things like a deer right next to the road staring at the mountainside at literally nothing, not moving or reacting or grazing. We continued to see more and more deer that were behaving oddly. But remember that we have all seen thousands of deer just up that canyon itself, and they never behaved like that. Please, anyone, let me know if you think it might have been something.
Thank you to Swamp Dweller tonight for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, hit subscribe, ring that bell, and you can listen to thousands of stories just like that for free. It's time for Robin. Well, Robin Haynes, how are you tonight?
I am good. I have to say, I like the new background.
Thank you very much.
Looks nice.
And I want to say that when we put out video number 3 of our little docu-series about investigating Flight 21, we actually call you before and after the video. And Robin, I'm just going to say this because I don't want to give too much away. I knew you were good. I knew you were accurate. But I didn't realize how damn good you are when it comes to this.
You're so sweet. I love you.
You wait until you see the video, okay? Because Tim is going to leave it in there, both sides, unedited. What you said before we went in and what you said after we went in. And I don't know if you heard Tim say this or not, but when we had the hitchhiker and you were releasing the hitchhiker from us.
Yeah.
So for people who don't understand what a hitchhiker is, it's a ghost that attaches or a spirit that attaches itself to you when you are leaving a location, and it can affect you. And that entire ride out of the forest, Tim and I felt like crap, like absolute garbage. And we told Robin about it afterwards, and she was releasing it. Tim actually has it on camera. When you say, I cleansed you guys and I cleansed your Jeep, or you said something along those lines, you can actually see our Jeep. My Jeep is sitting level. And you know when somebody bounces on the back end, like of a bumper, the vehicle goes up and down? You actually see our vehicle on camera go up and down. Like this thing is leaving.
Yeah, what you guys had attached to you were just entities. They weren't even a ghost of any kind. You get these attachments. For lack of a better term, I could just call them bottom feeders. They just try to attach and they try to lower your frequency and attach to you and feed off your energies. And that's what they were doing. And you had one and so did he. And then you had said, it felt kind of funky in the Jeep. I was like, okay, not a problem. So basically I pulled him off, blasted him, blew him up, and then cleaned out the inside of the vehicle as well.
Well, you did an amazing job. And one of the things, and I'm going to encourage people to go on our social media, Spaced Out Radio on Facebook. You can look me up. I'll put it on my Instagram at Dave Scott SOR as well after the show. You did something that was so freaking weird.
Story of my life.
Amazingly weird, because when we came out of the forest, you actually stated, did you see, we didn't encourage the conversation, but you said, did you see the two go up the tree?
Yeah.
Did you see the ones in the tree?
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, I didn't see it, but Tim was freaking out because he actually saw these black shadows go up. One, he actually saw the shadow climb the tree. So tonight, Tim is going through some of his video and audio that he was downloading, and he's going through his phone, and he finds a picture of a tree. Okay? And all of a sudden, something said in his head, zoom in. So he decided to zoom in on the tree. And what next came of that
generators. And over
was
here,
him seeing
you'll have
something
our
anomalous.
pilot seats. We have our co-pilot
And
and
when I
pilot
say
here.
something
You just get
anomalous,
a little bit comfortable.
as we zoom in on the photo, which we're going to
There we
post
go. We
all
have
on our social
brakes
media.
here, and this is how we move the plane.
Is
Each of
actually
these screens have
the
been
face of a
modernized.
Sasquatch
Now, let's
up
check
in
out the back.
tree,
Check this out.
staring
We're
back
gonna lift
down
the
at
nose
us.
of the plane. Go outside.
Now, Tim is trying to debunk this like anything tonight, wondering if it's pareidolia or wondering if it's actually something up in the tree. You can see, for our radio audience, you can see the eyes, you can see the nose, you can see the mouth, you can see the shape of the face, you can see the hair, you can see the shoulders, you can see
Here we have one
the
emergency
hairline on
escape
the
exit.
forehead.
We keep going. We got one
And
door. Keep going.
I am just
We got another place. That is where the pilots
tripped
and
out
crew
by
sleep
this
when they are
tonight,
switching off.
Absolutely.
Their dinner is here. Conventional
Yeah, it's
oven.
fantastic.
And the
I
refrigerator
couldn't believe
down
how
here.
good that picture is when you showed
So
it
that
to
your
me.
snacks can stay nice and cool. Here they would have
How did you know it
73
was in the tree?
troops, an entire battalion being delivered
Is the
and flown
background
to
voices
Vietnam to
coming
fight.
from
I
your end or my
can't even
end?
begin to fathom
I'm not
what
hearing
it would
any
feel like to
background
be a
voices.
troop.
It's
Oh my
probably on
gosh,
your
that's
side.
all I've got. Hang on. It's terrible. I can't hear you. Let me go out and come back in.
All right, let's do that. Robin's been having trouble.
This is the flight deck of the C5 Galaxy.
Robin basically said
This is
that
the world's largest
we
military
are-
aircraft, the C5
that we
Super
are
Galaxy.
literally,
It is 247 feet long.
supposed to
That's
look up in
two
the
and a half
trees.
blue whales. The wingspan
All right.
is 222
We're supposed to look
feet.
up in the trees, so
this
we look up
massive
in the
unit
trees,
requires
and all of a
18
sudden,
wheels, which you can
there
only kind of
is
see because the aircraft is
Every
actually
time you have
lowered
the
because of
picture
the
up,
hydraulics.
there's
and it's
somebody
lowered
talking about
so that
hydraulics.
when the nose is open,
all right,
it's
well, let
easier
me get rid
to
of
get
that.
things inside.
Let me get rid of that then.
Yep, and it's gone.
All right.
Now, just intuitively, it just came to me, whether they spoke it or not. I mean, mind speak, we know, comes in many ways, a sense of knowing or whatever. But when you and I started talking, it's just like intuitively I knew these things. And that's why it said, just look up in the tree, they're going to be there. And then when I thought about the tree, I knew there was going to be two. There was actually that one, and then there was a child that was up there, but the child went to the back of the tree. That photo, when you sent it over to me, and that's why I kept blowing it up, until we could see the face, was incredible. And the thing that I really loved about it was that particular Sasquatch looks very, very much like the one that showed me what he looked like that took the coins.
That is so weird, Robin.
Yeah.
It is so weird.
And then you said to me, how far away was it Tim that was from the tree?
Yeah.
And so what you do is you kind of do like a time rewind so that it's like I'm watching it as he's standing there. And I said, about 10 feet. And you just about died. You're like, oh, my God.
Yeah. Were you remote viewing that?
Yeah. Yeah, because what it is like when you asked me about how far away was he, I focus on the tree and I focus on him and then I rewind the time and I watch it from a distance. So it's like I'm literally remote viewing it and watching it from a distance.
Okay, so what did you see? How did you know?
Well, I originally knew that they were in the tree. In fact, before you guys went out, remember I said, whatever you do, look in the trees. It was just an instinct. It was intuitively. I knew they were going to be in the trees. Probably they put that in my head for you. And so that's why I had said that. And then when we talked, I was like, did you look in the trees? Because I knew they were there. Now, I think at that point, they were probably letting me know that you were, that they were going to be up there. I saw the adult go up the tree. I saw the baby go up the tree. And that was a male. That wasn't a female, but it had the child with it. And I saw the child go to the far side. So it wouldn't have been like right there. But the adult I saw where it was in the tree, which happened to be exactly where it showed up in the tree in the photo. It just comes, again, mind speak comes in so many different ways, and it can be a sense of knowing. But intuitively, what I try to do is I try to remote view it as if you're there and see if I pick up any hits on it, and then what they tell me on top of it.
You called almost everything that night, which was
so
scary.
Glad. I'm glad, though. I'm glad it worked out well. And to get rid of the entities, it was a matter of I focused on you, I focused on Tim remotely, and then I just look for the energies. And the energies will pop. And then once I can find out where the energies are, then I can focus on making them materialize so I can see what it looks like. And then to go in and remove them, it's almost like you do it remotely. You take your frequency, you hit it just like you're going to throw a ball at it, and you hit it with that. And then you just basically take your hand and you're ripping it off of you, getting rid of it, throw it up in the air and blast it so it just disintegrates. And then you push energy and frequency around you and around Tim and then throughout the vehicle to clear out anything else. Because anything that's lower frequencies, as these entities are, cannot sustain in a high frequency. So you change the frequency and the energy around you and inside the vehicle because the bad stuff can't sustain in it. They can't handle the high frequency.
It is absolutely incredible what happened that night. And one thing that you mentioned before we went in, you also mentioned that you were picking up alien energy.
Yes, one. Yeah, and he didn't feel bad. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't feel bad at all.
There was one, and Tim saw him. I did not.
Yeah.
I always miss that stuff. But Tim describes something a little bit darker with a very thin body, about 4 to 5 feet tall, with the larger oval-shaped head. He didn't see the eyes or anything like that, but he just saw it for a brief second and a half, 2 seconds, and it had vanished. And the funny part about it is, where you called it was where Samantha Mowat 2 years ago had seen the alien walk through the trees.
Yeah, and you had asked me, at that point, I didn't have the description from you that Tim had said. You just said, how tall is it? And I said, it's between 4 to 5 feet. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was a lot of fun. I had so much fun.
you were laughing at us because we were freaking out, but you
I
were
know.
laughing at us, trying to.
But I didn't mean it
Because
mean.
I know, and I think that's amazing. You know, I think that's amazing. You know,
Well, it's fun for me too when I get it right. And I've done this for so many years, and I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be, but my accuracy is usually really pretty good, or so I'm told. But I'm like everybody else. I still doubt myself, just like everybody else does. So then when I do it and it's right, I'm like, it makes me giddy. I get all happy. And the reaction off of you guys was phenomenal because you were just like, "Oh my God." Tim was freaking out. It was awesome. It was just a really good night. It was a great time. You guys had some great experiences. It was awesome.
well, there was some scary experiences though too.
Yeah.
Okay, and those scary experiences came in the night, and right before it got really, really dark, we could hear the chipmunks and the squirrels start to move closer and closer to us. And then all of a sudden, it felt like we were being surrounded by chipmunks and squirrels, like just a couple feet off all the paths and in the trees all around us. And we were looking at each other saying, this is weird. We've never heard this before. Now, it's not odd to hear a chipmunk or a squirrel in the forest. Okay, they are nature's alarm clocks. Okay,
Yeah.
they are nature's security guards. You know, they're the sirens of the forest to warn all the other animals that those filthy humans are back in here, and I'm just forewarning you about it. And yet here we are. All of a sudden, they're moving in closer and closer to the point where I started wondering whether or not they were actually the chipmunks and squirrels.
Yeah, because there can be one of two explanations to it. One, the Sasquatch, the ones that use a lot of the paranormal abilities, can shapeshift. And I had shared with you my experience with watching them shapeshift. And so you can do that. The other thing is they can use mind control on everything out in that forest. I don't care what it is. They can use mind control on it. They can send anything in to watch you. They can send anything in to warn you. They can send them in to say, get the point across to you that it's time to leave. You've been here long enough. So they have full control over that. I mean, when Igor Borsteff was at my house, he got to witness that with the raccoons because they used the raccoons. And, so you had a lot going on with those chipmunks. So one of the options would have been they had the rest of the clan had more down and were around you. But I think they sent them there. It's just like with crows, ravens, hawks, any kind of bird. They will send the birds in and monitor you. Birds are great to watch you, but people don't realize that there's other animals they will use to watch you as well. Chipmunks can be one of them. It can be anything, absolutely anything. And if they aren't morphing into that animal, then they're sending it there to watch you. It's really that simple. And they will literally go back and rat you out to the Sasquatch. I mean, it's hysterical. They also have the ability to look through the eyes of whatever animal that they're using, like they're watching you themselves.
It was so weird out there. And then all of a sudden, we had that feeling after the chipmunks and squirrels that we had to get the hell out of there right off the bat. It was like, there is no going past go and collecting $200. Just hop in your vehicle and get the heck out of Dodge. And it was a very, very uncomfortable feeling. It reminded me a lot, Robin, of last year when me and Merle and Samantha and our group all of a sudden decided that it wasn't safe anymore. And I'm going to pick that part up when we come back on Spaced Out Radio. Robin Haynes is here with the Cryptid Q&A.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
Yeah, I kept getting that the one baby had come down out of the tree. And so now there's a child down there, and there was a couple other ones that were coming in, and I think the kids were out, whether they were going to work with them on hunting or whatever. That baby was a little bit too little to be out hunting, but the other ones weren't. And so they were like, it's time for you guys to leave.
Okay, I'm going to try and, I want to show the audience these, so I'm going to try and see where I can put these pictures.
Yeah, that picture, and it was weird because when you put it up, I could hear all these people talking in the background, and when you would take it down, it was quiet again. But
you know
that
what was
photo,
weird is, what's weird is all of my tabs are muted, so I don't know why that would happen.
Yeah, that was weird. At first, I thought it would pass, and it didn't. Then I thought maybe it was my equipment. I'm checking, and mine was all right. I'm like, then it got to where I couldn't hear you because it got louder. And then as soon as it was down, it stopped. But that photo, I have to say, is phenomenal. It really is. Like, you had sent it over, and I blew it up so you could see the features on the face. You can see brow ridge, eyes, nose, lips, all of it. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. That's why I blew it up and sent it back over to you. And I'm like, gosh, look at that face.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing 1 second here. I'm just grabbing a couple more photos here. Oh, wrong way. All right.
Yeah, that whole night was incredible. I thank you for letting me be part of it because it was great.
Well, I knew you would like it.
Oh, I loved it.
It looks like it's sitting up in a nest in the tree.
Yeah, he had climbed up there to watch you when you guys came. I think that was probably the one that before you got there, and I said, whatever you do, look up in the trees.
You said that.
And I think that
said that before we went in.
Yeah, and then after. And I think that just came from him because he was going to be up there. But he's the same exact color and very closely shaped as the one that has the 3 coins. And that appeared that night too. So that was kind of cool.
Let's see here. I'm just going to add a 4th photo. The reason why I'm sounding quiet is because I'm talking quiet. Yeah, that's why. All right. No. See, I just got to turn my volume up on my voice. Then all of a sudden, I'm loud and proud.
But I do thank you for letting me be part of it when you go out there because I have so much fun with you guys.
Yeah, it was, woo. I guess you know what I'll be talking about next year at Nebraska Bigfoot Conference.
Yeah. You better, because that was fantastic. It really just, everything just kicked into place, and it just worked out really well.
I just need to figure out how to play that video.
Which one?
You know, so because I want that video of you before and after.
Oh yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Tim should be able to do it and then get it on a flash drive, and we'll give it to Tamara. She'll play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love your reactions. The reactions from you and Tim were priceless. So we definitely need those in there.
There may be some swearing in there. I'm not going to lie. There may be some swearing
that was
in
funny.
there.
You're like, I love you, but sometimes I hate you. And I'm like, okay, I love you anyway.
Oh my goodness.
It was awesome. It was just, the whole thing was so much fun.
Give me just a couple of seconds here. Area 51, I am so blessed by you tonight. Thank you very much for your amazing and incredible support of Spaced Out Radio. I don't know how to thank you, but I'm going to drum up something because Area 51 wants me to donate something to a special listener out there instead of me sending him some swag, so I'm going to do that. Thank you to Area 53, Rob, T-Bone times 2, Richard, Tim, Kitty Caddywhack times 2, Kira times 2. Thank you for the love and support tonight. I really appreciate it. Wow, I'm blown away. Blown away. Here we go. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Robin Haynes and the Cryptid Report coming up. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X on Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, Robin Haynes, the Cryptid Q&A going on. We are talking about her being absolutely brilliantly psychic for both Tim James and myself yesterday, or this past weekend, I should say, on Saturday. And we're still tripped out about it. But one of the things that happened tonight was that we actually may have caught the face of a Sasquatch. So to break it all down for those of you just tuning in, prior to us going into Flight 21, Robin took a phone call from us. And one of the things she stated was, make sure you look in the trees because that's where they are going to be hanging out. Mm-hmm. And Tim was going through his phone tonight, looked at a picture that he took of the trees, and lo and behold, it looks to be the face of a Sasquatch in the trees. And
it's an incredible picture. It really is fantastic.
And we're trying to figure out if it's pareidolia or not. At first I thought, no, it can't be. No, it can't be. And then the zooming in started, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Totally changed my opinion of everything. Tim is literally freaking out at home. So I'm going to put these photos on our social media, and I want you to check it on out. Tell me what you think at Spaced Out Radio on X, at Dave Scott SOR on my personal Instagram. We're going to try and get them on the company Instagram as well, at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our Facebook pages and group at Spaced Out Radio and at Spaced Out Radio Show. And even if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, because I seem to add everybody.
Do you have the blow up I did, Dave?
I have everything. So
okay,
right
because
now
that'll
we are
show the
looking at,
eyes, everything.
Yeah. Right now, if you're in Radioland, you're not going to be able to see this, but on our YouTube side, you're able to see this. So Tim took a picture of the trees, and all of a sudden something told him to zoom in. So as we zoomed in, it starts getting a little bit more recognizable. And Tim actually is like, you got to check this out, Dave. And so we started zooming in, and of course the picture gets a little bit blurrier, but literally you could see the shape of a face and the sun shining on the shoulders of it, kind of looking down on us. You could see the mouth. You could see Tim has tried to see if it's any sort of pareidolia within the trees or maybe a tree behind it. And
you can see the hair.
You can see the hair of it. So there is the real zoomed in one where you can see the mouth of the creature, the nose, the eyes, the forehead, the hairline, right?
The last picture I sent you has it blown up enough where you can literally, everybody can see the entire face and hair.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible. Now, Tim did go through a number of different filters trying to change the light to see if because he was trying to literally debunk
Disprove it. Yep.
He's trying to disprove it to see that to see whether or not this is just something of imagination or if this is something real. And it is pretty darn incredible that the more I look at it now, the more I'm seeing everything that just seems to be a little bit more Sasquatchy, shall we say.
The details on it are incredible. And if I can just say one thing for a moment. When I told you to look in the trees and then you had called me back, I got a message from some other Sasquatch, and it didn't have anything to do with the situation there, so I didn't say anything. And now we're talking about it again, and they're literally blowing up my head. And so I just need to get this out so they will stop, because they're starting to give me a headache. There's a male Sasquatch over at Joe Monk's place, and he wants Joe to know that he needs to look up in the trees because that's where he sits and watches Joe when he's outside walking by a fence. So I'm just putting that out there because he's not going to stop nagging at me until I do. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's the only relief I'm going to get.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
He's quieter now. Thank you.
How did you know all of this?
About yours or Joe's?
No, when we were going in and out, how did it come to you?
It just did. I mean, when you first called, because we had talked before, and you already knew that anytime you went out, if you wanted to call me, you can. We've done this before. And so I focused on the area and kind of like remote viewed what I thought it would look like, or, what I anticipated it to look like. And when I did, I felt this incredible draw to the tree, like an energetic pull. So I'm like, okay, that tells me they're going up in the trees. So that's when I said, look up in the trees. They're going to be up in the trees. So when you called, before you even mentioned the trees, I felt that same pull. And I said, were you guys up in the trees? And he said, yeah, I was. And then they gave me a visual of him going up the tree. And then there was a small one that was up as well. Now, the small one, if you go above that circle, if you're facing the picture on the right-hand side, all the way up to the top where the edge of the picture is, that's where the baby was at. He was way up there. So he's not even in that shot. But he literally showed me himself exactly where he is in that tree, and then go up, go off to the right, in through those branches where it's real leafy, and up, and that's where the baby went. And he wasn't a very big baby. So he was quite young. He was just out with Dad.
That is so incredible. I'd never seen a Sasquatch in the trees before.
People don't realize how much they are. We had this in Michigan. We had this one huge oak tree in the back, and they would climb up that tree and hang out in that tree all the time. And you could go to this tree and see the bare spots on certain branches where they would put their hands and feet. I mean, it literally, they climbed up it so much they pulled the bark off where their hands and feet would be. And you could see it almost like a step ladder going all the way up the tree. And there was an old hot wire fence behind it that was not active. And they had pulled the top wire up and hooked it on the branch of the tree so that it was open and they could cross into it easier. But they spend a lot of times going up in the trees. It's kind of like their little observation towers. And you'd be amazed, even the bigger ones get up in those trees. People don't think they could do it without breaking the branches or coming down, but they go up those things like just unbelievably quick.
That is unbelievable. And I just noticed in the tree on the zoomed out version of that, there is a grouse in the trees. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is a picture that hides all sorts of
Yeah.
information right there.
Yeah, and you had another one on the ground that was probably back behind that tree about 20, 30 feet. That was behind a tree that was cloaked.
Okay. Very interesting. Very cool. Whew. That is a lot. A lot.
Yeah, it was a good night. It was definitely a good night. From the time you called the first time and then, at the end.
Walter wants to know, do you think Bigfoot is at times weightless?
Yeah, number one, they can levitate. That is one of the abilities. And for everybody, just to recap, if they are in a clan that does not allow paranormal abilities, the only thing they're going to do is mind speak and maybe cloaking, and sometimes they won't even allow the cloaking. But most of them, the leader of the clan will allow the paranormal abilities. When they do, they're multidimensional. So they can be physical 1 minute and they can be in what they call spirit form the next. When they're spirit form, they're weightless. There's no weight to it. But they also can levitate. I've seen them do it. I've been on the second floor of my house and literally looked out the window when there's nothing for them to stand on outside of it and there's a face. I've seen it happen. I've had other people that have seen it happen. So yeah, they can levitate. And if they're in spirit form, there's no weight there.
No, there is no weight. But how does something that could be 500, 600 pounds levitate?
It's crazy. Whether or not they're going to go into that spirit form mode before they do it, that's what I would think that they would do. Like when I saw it was a black male that was outside the window and you could see him and he looked physical, but that doesn't mean he was, because when they go in spirit form, they can be anything from transparent to looking like you can see their entire body. I came out of my bathroom one day and there was one standing in front of my TV. And he had came in through spirit form. When they're in spirit form, they can walk through the walls. And I'm definitely not crazy. I know so many people that have watched them do the same thing. So I walked out of the bathroom and he's standing there in front of my TV and he kind of looked at me and then turned around and walked back right through the wall and was out. And I've had other people that have been around me that have seen it. And I know multiple, literally tens to 20, 30 people that have experienced that at some point in time. A lot of my clients, once I get working with them and their frequency gets up high enough, they start experiencing it. They'll call me and they'll be like, I just saw one walk through my dining room. Like, how is this possible? So they definitely are able to do it. And when they go into spirit form, there is no weight. But levitation is something that they can do. I think that is another way. When we see footprints, we see one footprint here and then we don't see another footprint for a while. Because they go into levitation mode and they're above the dirt. And again, it depends on whether or not that one uses a lot of the paranormal abilities. Is that allowed with that clan? Or if they even want to. Some stay more physical than they do paranormal. And those are the ones that actually, their life expectancy is more like us because they are not using the paranormal abilities. So they're not going through the portals, which is a higher frequency. Diseases aren't in that high frequency. They are not prone to being sick as easily as the ones that stay more in the physical. The ones in the physical, their lifespan is very similar to ours, where the ones that use more of the paranormal abilities, 300-400 years old. There's some that I know of that have made it 900 years. So it makes a big difference.
It really does. What is the lifespan for these creatures?
If you have one that stays mostly physical, they'll mind speak, they can cloak, but they stay mostly physical. They're not using the portals. They are not in that higher frequency. They have a high frequency, but not as high as some of the other ones. They'll make it the same as we are, maybe anywhere between 70 to 80 years old, maybe a little bit older. But then you have the ones that do more of the paranormal abilities, and they use it. In order to use paranormal abilities, you have to, just like with us, okay? I work with people and I teach people how to use their abilities every day. And you have to have a higher frequency to do it. So they have a higher frequency. That's how they are able to tap into their abilities. that higher frequency doesn't allow diseases. It doesn't allow the aging process like ours do, because when you are more physical, you're in a third dimension. That's why our bodies age, is when we're in the third dimension. When you start using the paranormal abilities, you are at a much higher. Now, I've had different Sasquatch, they're at a 13th dimension. Some are at 9. I think it's limitless with them. But they can live hundreds of years. I know some that are between 200 and 300 years old. I've talked to some that have been 400 and 500, and I know of some that have passed that were over 900. So, but those are ones that stay in the very high frequency in order to tap into the paranormal abilities. They're using the portals. There are no diseases in the portals. When COVID hit, it was a really big concern for me because of their human side. They do have, a partial human DNA on the mother's side. So I knew that they would be able to get COVID. So the first thing I did was start looking for things that they would have access to out in the woods that would help as a prevention for COVID or to help treat it. And I got a lot of them that got it, that needed healing, which I did do. But the ones that had it were the ones that really didn't use those paranormal abilities. The ones that had the higher frequency, used the portals more or whatever, they were untouched by it. They really didn't have any issues. And I would say, are you guys okay? Yeah, we're spending more time in the portals. This is why portals are not safe for us, because we may be at a fourth and fifth dimension consciously, but our bodies are still in that physical 3D. They're just a housing place for us. They are not really who we are. What we are is frequency, energy, and our consciousness. So our 3D bodies get sick. They required food, water, and sleep. And so that's what ages. That's why we die off when we do, because we don't have any way to stop, not the aging process, but being sick. We don't know, our bodies don't know what it feels like to be healthy. When you have that higher frequency, you're not that you don't get sick, but you don't get like what we do. I do healing work on the Sasquatch all the time. They might get colds, they might get pneumonia, something like that due to weather changes. But the ones in the higher frequency do not get the illnesses that we get. But when they're down and they stay mostly in that third dimension because they're more physical, even though they're a higher frequency being, their physical bodies are what gets attacked by illness. And then they end up passing away right around the same time we would.
What do they do with their bodies?
They bury their dead. They will have actually a funeral. They will observe 3 to 4 days of silence. Depending if it's one of the hierarchies, then they're going to go 4 days. If it's just one of the clan members, they're going to go 3 days. But they actually do a type of funeral. There's a certain way that they're placed in the grave. There's a certain way they do things. But they bury their dead, and they're very protective over their dead. Absolutely.
Are there Sasquatch graveyards much like there is elephant graveyards out there?
I'm not sure about the elephant graveyards, but yeah, they do have graveyards for them. Absolutely. They will put anywhere from stick structures to boulders and rocks to uprooting a tree and planting a tree on those graves. They will do whatever they have to do so that they know it's marked, but we don't. I had at the back of my property in Michigan, I had 10 acres. I know darn well that's what it was, because they hung out there all the time, and you would see these giant mounds with all these big boulders that were stacked on all of them. Every single mound had boulders put on top of it. And they would hang back there all the time. They'd go back there and check on them and hang out a little bit, and then they would leave and they'd come back up through the property. But they had me do blessings on them. They've had me go to different burial grounds before where they've buried their dead and do blessings on them. And it's generally, there's a bunch of them there. So I think they have, a type of what I would consider a burial ground. Not that they don't bury them singly. They absolutely do, depending on the location and what's going on. But the ones that I've been to, it seems to be quite a few in one spot.
We have 2 minutes to go here with you, and we're just going to continue to run on here because we can do that. This is my show. I can do what I want. Joe says, I've talked to Robin a couple of times, and everything she said panned out. He's got big feats on his property.
Oh, and they love him. They absolutely love him. Joe, and he can type this in. Do you have horses there right now?
I don't think he has horses right now, but he
Because they're
did.
talking about they either want him to have a horse because they would like the horse, or if he has one, they already like it. But there's something about them with the horse there. So if he doesn't have the horse, they want him to get one. But they're showing me them up in the trees, and there's a fence near the trees, and they watch him as he walks either the fence line or he's out by that fence. But they have been bugging me since Dave contacted me that night that they went out. And I said, look up in the trees. And the minute I said trees, they started blowing at my head. And I was like, okay, just hang on, guys. Next time I get a chance to tell Joe, I'll tell him. And I forgot all about it till we got on air tonight and started talking about it. And that picture popped up, and they were just like all at one time blowing at my head. And I was like, just wait a minute. And they would not stop. So that's why I had to say it when I did, because as soon as I did, they let up. So the headache's gone now. But they wanted Joe to know that he needs to look up. Wherever he stands at that fence line, to his right and up is where they're at. They watch him. They watch him outside a lot.
Joe used to have horses, and he said he would go into his barn and the manes would be and tails would be braided.
Yeah. Maybe that's what they were talking about. But they were like, we love his horses. We love his horses. And so I didn't know if he didn't have them and they wanted one, or if he did have them. But yeah, they're going on and on about those horses. They just said, yeah, we love the horses.
I love it. I love it. Robin, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio each and every time, because you make it so much fun each and every week when you're on. 20 seconds, tell people where they can get a hold of you.
You can find me on Facebook at Robin Haynes, Haynes, or if you want my services, you can find me at paranormal-empowerment.com.
Love it. Robin, you are the best, and we're not heading to Flight 21 this coming weekend, but the weekend after, and we'll probably have to connect with you for that.
Absolutely.
As well as we say goodnight to Robin, and hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Robin, you are the best. The best, the best.
I love you. Well, I love
Me
you,
too.
and I sure enjoy working with you on that stuff. It's so much fun.
It's going to continue.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to continue.
And you know I'll be there. All you have to do is
I know
call.
you will. Thank you for always taking my call.
Always. I will always take your call. You always take mine whenever I call you, so it works both ways.
Yeah, you're the best.
All right,
Thank
love
hon.
you.
I'll let you get to bed.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Robin Haynes, everybody. She is such a sweetheart. Oh, I love her. All right. June 10, 25. God, I can't type today. Do. I'm tired. Excuse me, everybody. Sorry about that. Oh, now my stomach's growling. That's nice. Not even hungry. I had butter chicken for dinner. Oh, yeah. Love a good butter chicken with basmati rice. Oh, it's beautiful. All right, that should be good there. Is it ready now? Yeah, there it is. Okay, now we're rolling. I wonder if this one needs updating too. No, not tonight. Not tonight. Da, da, da. How's there for right now? So much to do. You know, just when I think it's getting a little bit slower and I'm getting the hang of this, it's like I forget everything that I'm supposed to do. Happens every blue moon. I guess strawberry moon, I guess. So aren't we in a strawberry moon phase? Everything's strawberry. Strawberry moon, strawberry fields forever. Katy Perry once ate a strawberry and now she's a strawberry farmer. Look, even though I have a crush on Katy Perry, I'm still going to make fun of that. Because that's funny. It is funny.